Come to here, and it's very, very important for me to tell people who want to know what's going on in Israel. And you'll be surprised how many people don't care or think they got the picture. But I appreciate you coming over, spending your evening in here. So thank you, Pastor John. And thank you for my manager. You know, you all met him. Yeah, I may hire him forever, you know, he's going to be my road trip manager, Jared. And when the war started, I was with a tour. I was with a group from South Africa, very, very poor people from the middle of nowhere that saved $20 every year to make it to the Holy Land once. We were in the north of the country. We were next to the Sea of Galilee. And of course, when the war started in October 7, I wasn't near Tiberias. It was in the south of the country. So I woke up in the morning. I did not look at the news. I knew it was the last day of the tour, the ministry around the Sea of Galilee. And I was just, you know, doing the morning thing, breakfast, get the flocks to the bus, and start the day. And I got an email saying to me something, but the idea was, this started as such a bad morning, we're hoping the day will get better. And I had no idea what the woman who sent me the email was talking about. So I was checking the news to see what's going on, because there's always something going on in Israel. And I found out that there's some kind of a terrorist attack on the south of the country. But this is an hour since it started, and as you know, there was so much chaos at the beginning, so we didn't get the full picture. But it looks a little bit more serious than the other events. So I contacted travel agents to ask, is that okay for me to take the tourists out of the hotel? Because in Tiberias, we felt nothing. No siren, no rockets, no missiles. Peaceful Saturday morning, which was a holiday. And they says, no, you gotta keep the people at the hotel, because there's a fear that attack like that's gonna happen in the north of the country, and we are in the north of the country. So I gathered the people in the lobby at the hotel, and I explained to them what's going on. Of course, they were terrified, and they were, no, you know, nobody wants to be in a war, and definitely not in a war doesn't belong to you, in a far country, and all of that. So hotel was very kind, kept feeding them through the day, because those are not people that can afford getting money out of the pocket. That was not part of the plan for the tour. So the first few days of the war, for me, I was like mama bears with her cubs, right? I wasn't worried so much with what was going on, because we were in a place where we were safe, my daughters were safe, my family was safe. And only after I got those tourists out of the country, which we couldn't fly them because their flight didn't show up. So I had to have them cross the border to Jordan, which they were stuck there for another 2 days before they got flights back to South Africa. So this is how the war started for me. But one of my best friend, Tal, she lives in one of those kibbutzim, those communities that got invaded. In fact, she lives in kibbutz near Oz. If you heard that name, that's the kibbutz. A quarter of that kibbutz is wiped out from the face of the universe. Murdered, kidnapped, and just brutally assaulted. And I kept texting her to see how she was, because that's what you do. You worry for the people that you know. I didn't get an answer, but I could have seen in WhatsApp that she was around, and for me that was a good sign that everything is okay with her. It took her 3 days to respond, and she says, I'm fine, I wasn't there. So she was helping her daughter move to a dormitory in Tel Aviv University, and she spent the night in Tel Aviv, so she wasn't there that morning. You think she felt good about it? She felt guilty that her friends from her community had to go through what they had to go through, and she was sleeping peacefully in a bed in Tel Aviv. But that's how we are. We Israelis, we're always feeling guilty about something because it's not our child that died this time. It's not our home that got burned. It's not the rocket did not fall on my property. It's not my neighbor child that was lost. So we're always guilty about something that happened to somebody that we know, but we are fine. It's bad to be able to inhale because your neighbor can't do the same thing. At the first few weeks of the war, it was just horror movie, but it wasn't movie, it was reality. I'm not going into the atrocities because you're all well informed and I don't need to tell you what happened, but I want to tell you about what life is like during events like that. And I want to start by asking you a question. How many of you have a bomb shelter? Nobody. How many of you have a safe room? Oh, okay, no. You have a safe room? How many of you have a gas mask? We all have either a bomb shelter, a safe room, and we definitely all have a gas mask. When a baby is being released from a hospital, he's being given his first gift from the State of Israel, a gas mask. We all have our personal gas mask. We are all feeling involved when something bad happens, if it's not happened to one of us. And you all know about the Nova party, where by now we already counted 400 dead and a big number of kidnapped that are still in Gaza. Speaking of the kidnapped, today is day 229. 229 days that they are in the tunnels, that they are being brutally treated. And we keep praying for them every day to get back, even if it's not anybody I know. The one girl from my town was already released. But my town also lost, in the first few days of the war, 9 young men and 1 woman who were soldiers. There was one day where we had 3 funerals. 3 funerals of young men. One funeral of a 19 years old is too much, but can you imagine? You're just waiting in the cemetery for the next one and the next one because you can't drag yourself anywhere else. For me, I did not know any one of those 3, but one of my best friends in town, she is a teacher in town, mathematics teacher. So over the years, all of them were her students, at one point or another. So they were all kids that she knew, and she couldn't bear it by herself. So I volunteered to go for 3 funerals just to be with her. And I tell you that is more harsh than anything you can imagine. It's just hard. It's impossible to describe the pain. And again, it wasn't my pain, but as a mother, feeling the pain of your child being plunked out of your life just like that. Beginning is very, very hard, but also understanding that security was completely taken off from the life of us Israelis. We always thought that we are strong, and we're resilient, but never in our history since the Holocaust. We've lost 1,400 people in a brutal attack in one day. From the 1,400 people, there was 822 civilians, babies, children, adults, all the way up to senior citizens, and the rest, 720, were about security forces. Could be fire departments, medical teams, ambulance, to soldiers, policemen, and the first one in those towns were actually the policemen because they lived in those towns. So before the army got organized. It was the civilians who had weapons that went to protect their towns. And sometimes when they left their home, they left their family exposed for the horrors of the terrorists that came into the home. So what's the difference between a bomb shelter and a safe room? A bomb shelter, it's what Israel has in the early years of Israel. So every couple of buildings, a street will have its bomb shelter. So when there's a siren, you leave everything, you put your shoes on, and you run to the bomb shelter. Because when the bomb shelters were created, the enemy would have been airplane that will fly over Israel in the Six-Day War or Yom Kippur War, 73 War. And then the idea was that if you'll be underground, then you'll be safe from the bombs that come from the airplanes. But in the 90s, there was the Gulf War. And at the Gulf War, we realized that if a non-conventional weapon comes, it's not safe for you to be underground because the debris from those missiles, what they are carrying, would land down, and if you're underground, when you come out, you're going to get that biological weapon. So then, the newer building in the last 30 years were built with a safe room inside the home. Whether it's an apartment or a house, the safe room is inside. And the way the safe room is built, that it's built to be the furthest from your nearest risk. So if I live in the center of the country, my nearest risk is east, either Judea and Samaria or Iran or Iraq. So my safe room is facing west, because west is the Mediterranean Sea. But if you live in the south of the country, your safe room will be facing north, and the other way around. If you live in the north of the country, your safe room is facing south. But never in our history before, we needed to lock our safe room, because it was always a rocket and missiles that will penetrate the house. It was never murder that came through the house and didn't care if it was children or adult or senior citizens, handicapped people. They just came for the blood, and the blood invigorated them to go more and more cruel. So you live here in Canada, and this seems to you like this is just sound like a bad movie. And you know what you do with bad movie. You leave the movie theater, or you turn off your remote control and go see a hockey game. But it's not a movie. This is our life. That's how we live. And it's not from October 7. It's since the establishment of the State of Israel. Last week, we had an Independence Day. Very sad Independence Day. We finally reached 76 years of independence. But since the day Israel was established, since that day, Israel has been in between wars. And look what happened in your campuses and in the center of your cities. From the river to the sea, Palestine would be free. Wait a minute. Free from who? In October 6, there was a ceasefire. In 2005, we disengaged from Gaza. We let them rule themselves. You all gave them money. The world gave them money because Palestinians they are so poor and helpless. What was happening with that money? They've built tunnels. They brought missiles. They brought rockets. They trained their people to be murderers. That's what happened. So, since the War of Independence, Israelis had no choice but to learn to defend themselves. And we got good, We're a tiny country. Israel fits in Manitoba 32 times. 32 times Israel are in Manitoba. You have a border from the US. Our borders, none of them is with the US or Switzerland. Our borders is with enemies that want us dead. So you have your way of being relaxed in here in a way that I don't even know what it means. Because we're always stressed. We're always short tempers. were always waiting for the first heat to come over. And the world, for some reason, think that we, a tiny country with 9 million people, is the aggressor and not the victim. You may not think so, but look what happened in your backyard. Look what's going on in here. It's just incredible, incredible, and it's hard for you to understand, right? It's the kids from your schools and the people from your neighborhoods, they come and they say, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Forget about they don't know which river, haven't an idea which sea. They are calling for genocide, and yet, somehow, I'm the offender, I'm not the victim. Why did we get so good with Iron Dome? Oh, we love our Iron Dome. Iron Dome is what saves our life. We have to. We want to survive. We had to invent weapons to protect us from all those rockets from the north, from the south, now from Iran and Yemen, you know, Houthis, where did they come from, you know? They're being paid by Iran. So all of those events make us resilient, make us need to be on our feet very quick, and also make us unable to relax like you can. It's just impossible. You're always in between bad things. We give our children cell phone in very, very young age because you need to talk them through when they need to go into the safe room by themselves because you're grocery shopping or you're not back from work or anything, but the kid needs to deal with the situation by themselves. Especially now, after the war started, and the level of post-trauma in Israel is just reaching so high. So Abraham was promised the land by God. He said, you look north, east, south. I'm giving this all to you. He said to him, he didn't say west. Why? Mediterranean Sea, right? Everywhere you look, I'm giving to you, to Abraham, to your generation, your next generation, and all the generation that comes after. Where is Palestine mentioned in the Bible? It doesn't. Where is Palestine mentioned in the Quran? It doesn't. But Judah, Yehudah, the Israelites are mentioned in the Bible. We didn't show up at 1964. 1964, the Palestinian Organization for Liberation was formed. And that's the first time ever the word Palestinian became a political term for a nation of people. It never existed before 1964. How many of those people that are going to the protest actually know that? Well, probably very few, or some of them who has an agenda to wipe up Israel, but I think most of them doesn't have any clue that this is what they're saying. But that's why it's so scary for you. The difference between you and me is that since I was born into it. I was small when Yom Kippur War started, and as a child, I remember that as a fun thing, you know? No school, all the kids from the street come to the bomb shelter in my home, we hang out on the floors, we just annoy the parents, we have to be quiet when the news coming in, we had to paint our windows black so it wouldn't reflect for the airplanes that are coming. But those are child memories. But we just learned that this is part of our life. But the terror organizations have people all over North America and Europe. Look at the amount of Muslims that are here as refugees or migrated one way or another. You have a huge amount of people in here. And I'm hoping for you that most of them here came for the right kind of reason, to have better life than when they came, where they came from. But I have an army. Even if my army messed up very big, I know I have somebody that will protect me. What are you going to do? Because this is not a bad movie about a story from Mars. This is something that's happening to the world, orchestrated by Iran. Because Iran wants to eliminate the West, modern democracy, liberals, everything that is not Iran. He wants to get rid of that. Iran doesn't care for Hamas, or definitely don't care for the Palestinian people. Iran's agenda is, let's start with Israel and move on to the rest of the Western world. So you have no choice but to get behind me. Because if you're not going to be on my side, if something to happen to Israel, who's going to come for you? Who will come for you? We are the ones that are resilient and know how to deal with terrorism. What are you going to say? Well, I'm not interested in the deal you're offering me. What are you going to do? You're not brought up here through generation to deal with what I am into. And in the last 4 weeks that I've been here in Canada, I've encountered a lot of Israelis that moved here within the last 3 months, because Canada offered to Israelis and Palestinians, because of the war, fast pass to get a work permit here in Canada. Fast pass take 3.5 months where they're sitting, they're not allowed to work, and they gotta wait for the bureaucracy to kick in. So those Israelis are saying, we are tired of that. We don't want to raise our kids the way we were raised. And they says, don't you have any mistake? We are not afraid of the war. We are afraid of not having an agenda to the war to lead us to stay in the war situation for a very long time. And also, all of us Israelis, when we get to the age of 18, we serve in the army. So losing so many soldiers in the last 7 months make people think, in 2 years it's going to be my child that gets to the age, it's my child that's going to need to go in. Am I willing to sacrifice my child for the state of Israel? And also remember, the Orthodox population doesn't serve in the army, doesn't work, and yet they're a big portion of the government. So the people that are making decisions over the soldiers that are serving in Gaza is people that never send their children into the war. Much easier when it's not your kid sitting in a tunnel in Gaza. Much easier to make decisions. And so the people in Israel feeling very, what's the word I want to use? Breathless, feeling like the air is finished. And we need something to show us that this is going for a certain goal. When I started speaking, that was in November, beginning of November, I was on 3 months road trip through the US in churches. And then I said very fiercely, we can't stop until all the hostages will be back and we will eliminate Hamas. But reality kicked in. Some of the hostages are probably dead. We still want their bodies. The rest, we need to return them as right now, not tomorrow. But Hamas, okay? Hamas is financed by Iran. Even if Israel find a way to eliminate all the Hamas terrorists that are in Gaza right now, Iran is just going to ship new people. So we will trade one terrorist to another. So in my personal opinion, get rid of Hamas cannot be our goal because there's always going to be more terrorists that are coming in. And don't forget, we have a worse border with Lebanon, with Hezbollah, that is way stronger than Hamas. And then who's financing Hezbollah? Iran. So the reality of life is that You're always stressed about something on top of the regular go to work and everything that everybody has. We have this on us every single moment. My best friends, their son, who is nearly 20 years old, he now serves in Gaza. When the soldiers get into Gaza, they take their phone away from them, so intelligence of Hamas can find them by their phones. Phone stays in Israel, so the parents have absolutely no idea what happened with their kids until week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks later when they came out of Gaza. So when I text her in the morning, which is our morning here, but it's already in the afternoon for her, says, "What's up?" She say, "Not breathing." Not breathing means she haven't heard from her son for a long time. If she says, "Breathing again," he's home for the weekend. Can you try and imagine your son in a dangerous place as a soldier in Gaza and you sleep in your comfortable bed? You're not sleeping. You're barely breathing. And just today, 3 soldiers got killed. Just today. So every morning when I wake up and it's noon already in Israel, I open the news to see what happened. And it's always something bad. And that is our reality. So we have to be resilient. We have to be on our feet again. We have to get back to life again. For me, it's a little bit more challenging because I'm a tour guide, and as you can all understand, tourists are not exactly rushing to Ben Gurion Airport right now. Since the war started, I guided 2 people for 3 days. They were people in their 80s from New Jersey, a Jewish couple who loves Israel very much, both with walkers. When their daughter called me and says, "If you say you'll take them, I'll let them go," because I've guided that family before. So I've organized a tour for them. Now, they've been in Israel, so they know all the highlights. They didn't come for the highlights. I took them to the site of the Nova party, where the 400 young people that was at the forest party got murdered. You have there a picture and a name of each one of those young people. When we were there, a mother and a daughter of one of the victims, a young man, they were there to make his pole look a little prettier. They brought garden lights, and they brought rocks, and some firemen that came to see someone else's picture all came over. We all put the rocks around, and this is what we can do. We can't bring her son back, but we can just try and feel a little bit of her pain so she will know that we are feeling her pain. But what can we do besides that? So after that, we went to one of the kibbutzim, and a member of the kibbutz, because the members are not living in there. But this guy came for us to show us what happened, where the terrorists came in, the houses that got burned, how they got invaded, what was the effect of the party that was near them. In fact, the party saved that kibbutz because the terrorists in a community saw the people fleeing from the party and just massacred everyone on the road. So they gave more attention for the Israelis that was fleeing than for the people in the kibbutz. Then we went to see a horrible monument. They took all the cars that the terrorists burned at the party and put it off the road because it was blocking the road. So it's a monument that is made of 1,500 burnt cars. So then we went to see the town of Ofakim. And in a town of Ofakim, in one street, 52 people got murdered. And we heard the heroism stories of people with flip-flop and boxer shorts showed up in the street to see what happened, took those who had a pistol, took their personal pistol, and tried to go against a party of terrorists. At first, they thought that they made there by mistake because it's next to an Air Force base. But then they found in the backpacks of the terrorists maps of the town, They knew it was a holiday and there will be a lot of people in the synagogues. The terrorists knew exactly where to go so they can kill as many people as possible. I also took them to a place called Hostage Square. This is where the families of the hostage stay 24/7. Remember how many days? 229 days. I thought that few minutes in Hostage Square is more than my emotion can tolerate, but those two amazing people, they didn't want to leave. We were there half a day. They couldn't leave. They felt bad that their life in New Jersey is so amazing, and this is what we are going through. And that was the only time I've seen tourists since the war started. And who knows when this is going to be over? Who knows where my job is going to be back? So when the war started and a church from Connecticut offered me to come over, they thought I wanted to be rescued. I wasn't interested in being rescued because it's my family is there. But then I've decided to come if they allow me to speak. So me speaking in churches, it's something that happened. It wasn't something I've planned to do. And after I spoke and my talks were videos and then there was YouTube film and other people saw it, I ended up, people contacted me on Facebook and says, hey, do you want to come? Do you want to come to California? Do you want to come to Virginia? Do you want to come to Georgia? And I said, yes, send me a ticket and I'm coming. And that's how I ended up being for 3 months in the US, just giving lectures. Then I was home for 2 months, and now I'm here I'm here 4 weeks, but I'm going to be here for about 2.5 months, just making you understand that war is not something that you see on TV. War is real, and it's part of our life. So before I finish, I want to tell you that over 50% of Israelis are secular. They have absolutely no faith, including my family. Why is that? Because in Israel, being religious usually means you are an Orthodox Jew. And remember what I told you? Don't serve in the army, don't work, don't pay tax, and have a lot of children. So Israeli has this resentment to what being religious is. And it's like one or the other. You're either religious, then you believe in God, or you don't, because look at those who believe in God. They're not doing anything for anybody but themselves. So when you're out of faith, it's very hard for you to have hope, like Jared was saying. Because when you have faith, you have trust, and from trust, hope comes. And you understand that, and I understand that, but people that are secular, it's like trying to explain to a colorblind the difference between red and an orange, you know? And I would have to say, sadly, I was asked about that this week, if the war brought people closer to God, and sadly, I would say it's the opposite. It's the opposite. And it's just when you're in a crisis, you have to get over the crisis to understand what happened to you and regroup. But at the moment, Israeli people are not in a good place, and they don't feel much hope. And this is the first time that we've been in such a situation. Soon enough, we're going to put a video for you. It's a song. I don't know if you heard about the Eurovision. Eurovision is every year in Europe, there is a song contest. In Israel, though we're not exactly in Europe, we're part of this contest. And every year we send somebody. We actually won, I think, 3 or 4 times in the past. And this year, it was going to be in Stockholm, in Sweden. And they really did not want us. So the first song that we chose, they denied the song, which never happened in a song contest that a song got. They said it was too political. The year before, Ukraine sang very political song, and that was okay with everybody. So eventually, the same song got name changed from October rain to hurricane. Some words got alterated, so us Israeli knew exactly what it was talking about, that the world could digest. That was okay for Europe, that our young woman, 20 years old, will sing that. And also, they said that her dress was not appropriate. You know why? She was wearing yellow, and that's our color for the hostages. So they had to change the color of her dress, and they made her dress from bandages. So you're going to see that song, and at the end of the song, you're going to see some butterflies. I'm going to let you see that, and then I will explain that to you, and then we'll let you ask questions.
Writer of my symphony, play with me, look into my eyes and see. People walk away but never say goodbye. Someone stole the moon tonight, took my light. Everything is black and white. Who's the fool who told you boys don't cry? Hours and hours and powers. Life is no game but it's ours. While the time goes wild, every day I'm losing my mind, holding on in this mysterious ride, dancing in the storm. I got nothing to hide. Take it out and leave the world behind. Baby, promise me you'll hold me again. I'm still broken from this hurricane. This hurricane. Living in a fantasy, ecstasy. Everything is meant to be. We shall pass, but love will never die. Hours and hours and powers. Life is no game, but it's ours. Why? The time goes wild. Every day I'm losing my mind, holding on in this mysterious ride, dancing in the storm. I got nothing to hide. Take it out and leave the world behind. Baby, promise me you'll hold me again. I'm still broken from this hurricane. This hurricane. לא צריך מילים גדולות, רק תפילות. אפילו אם קשה לראות, תמיד אתה משאיר לי אור אחד קטן.
So at the beginning of the video, you saw there was names of two soldiers. Those two soldiers were musicians. One of them was killed at the Nova party, and the other one as a soldier. So that song is devoted to them. The video that you've seen was not what Europe saw. Europe saw Eden, the singer, standing on stage, and that's what we've made it. It's like our rebellious, for this is how this song should be looking. You've seen the butterfly. So the first Israeli woman soldier that got released by the army is called Ori Magadish. And when Ori was stuck all alone in the tunnels, she asked God to give her a sign that it's going to be okay. And then a butterfly came. And then she was released. At home, her parents and her older brother couldn't bear the pain of being away from there. And her brother went and got himself, without knowing about her covenant with God, with the butterfly, he went and he got himself a butterfly tattoo. And when she was released, she told that God gave her a promise with her butterfly, had no idea that her brother got himself a butterfly for the same reason, for a promise of his sister's freedom.